This happened around 2013. I was around 8 years old at the time. I'd had a normal day at school. Got into bed, but had that feeling that I wasn't alone. Moments later, I heard someone whisper my name loudly. It was a male's voice, standing in the back of my room. Scared, of course, I jumped off the bed and I slept in my parents' bed. The next few days, I'd hear footsteps, pacing back and forth. My sister, unbeknownst to me at the time, was scared of something too, and immediately agreed when I suggested sleeping together. It was like this until she wanted to sleep in her room with me. I said sure, but I was still creeped out, of course. That night, I woke up in the middle of the night for the second time. The first time she'd rammed her elbow into my face, but this time, I just saw that giant, dark figure in the middle of her room. It was see-through, but it didn't really have a shape. I bolted out of there. I only ever told her about it a few months ago. These hauntings stopped, but they started again back in 2019, and they continue, even now. I've been going back and forth as to whether or not to post this, since to an outside viewer, the video isn't really all that interesting. If you don't know me, you'd assume it was faked, or I was simply misjudging where noises were coming from. But after a few weeks, I want to get my experience down in writing. Despite being a fairly mundane story compared to some of the posts here, it really upset me. This took place a few weeks ago. I'm going to go into detail to describe my house. Skip this paragraph if you want to get to the good stuff. In the video, I'm sitting on a couch, the camera facing the doorway that leads to a hallway. That hallway has 4 bedrooms. As you can tell by the boxes, people have been moving in and out. The bedroom closest to the living room had my roommate's stuff in it, a bed, a carpet, etc., and the door was held open with a bag of clothes so that the cat could get in and out. Her closet was also propped open with the laundry hamper so the cat could use the litter box. The second room was my old room. I was in the process of moving my stuff to the third room. Neither of these rooms have a closet. The second room, the door was open a crack. In the third room, the door was closed. These rooms also don't have closets. The fourth room, with my roommate's stuff in it, the door was wide open. His closet was shut. It's an old building, and the doors don't click perfectly shut. You need to kind of wedge them open and closed by putting your weight on them. Note that you can slam the doors without them closing. They bounce back open. All doors do this. I was sitting on the couch alone, watching TV. I was sure I was home alone since my roommate, ERIN, asked me to watch her cat, and the guy in the back room, Mark, told me that he was going to stay with his girlfriend for a few days. But people come and go pretty often, so when I heard footsteps, I didn't really think twice. I've been living here for 2 years, and I can tell where noise is coming from. The footsteps sounded like they were coming from ERIN's room. That's when I heard her slam her door very hard. I was worried something was wrong, so I got up to check. I saw that her door was wedged open, and the room was dark, meaning she wasn't home. I looked up in the hallway. I saw Mark's room was wide open and also dark. He wasn't home either. I immediately got a chill because I didn't know where the noise was coming from. I've been living here nearly 2 years. I know every sound this house makes. I know that it was one of the bedroom doors. I was only sitting 10 feet away. I couldn't see the doors, but there's no mistaking that one of them was slamming. We're also the top apartment, We can't hear any noises from the downstairs neighbors ever, and there's nothing on either side of us. I went and sat back down. About 5 minutes later, the door slammed again. I got up, thinking maybe a window was open and blowing the door shut. This was unlikely since the 2 years I've lived here. The doors have never done this, even with every window in the house open. But I was still trying to rationalize it. So I checked the windows, and every window was tight shut. At this point, I was freaking out a little, went to sit down. As soon as I sat down, again, the door slammed, twice in a row, quickly. At this point, I know people will be rolling their eyes because I didn't get up and look again, but I was too scared to move. I have PTSD, and door slamming is a huge trigger for me, so my heart was already racing. But when I realized that there was no one in the house, I went into panic mode. I started texting a friend who lived nearby, telling him what was happening. Over the course of texting him for about half an hour, the door kept slamming. Sometimes every 30 seconds. Sometimes it would stop for 5 minutes. My friend was on his way, but he suggested I yell at it. I think he was just suggesting this because he thought it would give me confidence. So I yelled, "Please stop," as if, in response, the door slammed hard 3 times in a row. I literally was shaking at this point. I couldn't get up to even look if I wanted to. While waiting for my friend to come, it slowed down a bit. But this is when I finally realized I should take a video. In the short video, I got a quiet slam. In the long video, at the 34-second mark, I could clearly hear footsteps, which is why I said, "What the fuck was that?" At 42 seconds and 56 seconds, you can hear the door slam. When my friend got here, about 20 minutes later, it stopped. He thoroughly checked every single room and closet for an intruder. When he came back to the living room, he said that there was no one in the house. I finally calmed down enough to check myself. We spent about 15 minutes examining every door in the house. There was absolutely no reason for any of them to have been slamming like that. No windows were open. We were even testing out the hinges and shit, just trying to find a rational explanation. While I was in ERIN's room trying to find her cat, the thing was terrified, wedged itself behind her dresser. I was also burning incense. I'm into witchcraft, so I was beginning to do a light cleansing to get the negative energy out. My friend, who is a pretty tough dude, like he's been to jail and shit, he screamed. I ran out and he looked at me, white as a sheet. I've never seen him scared before, and he was scared. I have a poster in the living room of a band called Witchcross. It's been up for 1.5 years at least. It's the blue poster that you can see on the right in the videos. There's 2 massive push pins in each corner. Apparently, while he was sitting there, both push pins flew out of the corners and dropped to the floor. There was no breeze, nothing to knock it down. The pins just flew out. Keep in mind, I had to hammer those pins in when I put that poster up 1.5 years ago. It survived multiple house parties without falling down. I put the poster back up in the exact same spot, put the pins in the same holes, and it stayed up just fine ever since. My friend stayed with me, and the rest of the night, there were no more noises at all, even though we left the doors exactly how they were. A few days later, I messaged my old roommate. I didn't tell him what happened. I just asked if he'd ever experienced anything weird in this apartment. He said he didn't want to tell me because he didn't want to scare me, but part of the reason he moved out was because of the bad experiences he had here. This is not a superstitious guy at all. He also told me that 3 years ago, before we moved in, a girl killed herself in one of the front rooms. My roommate told me when he lived here, he had reoccurring dreams of a girl kicking in his door jumping on him. Then, about 2 years ago, my old roommate's friend went on the roof, tried to kill himself in the little gap between the 2 front bedroom windows. So, there's definitely some bad energy here. I know this isn't proof to anyone who doesn't know me, because in order to believe this video, you'd have to take me at my word, and I'm just a stranger on the internet. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get up and get a video of the door actually slamming, but I was genuinely terrified by that time. I wish I thought to get more video, but when something like this happens, your first thought isn't, how am I going to prove this to the world? It's, what do I need to do to keep myself safe? At first, I thought someone had snuck into my house, was going to hurt me. All I could think of is what to use as a weapon. I couldn't even leave out the back door to my left because my shoes were down the hall. Sorry if you were expecting a crazier story, but this is one of the most fucked up things I've ever experienced. I've always been a bit of a skeptical believer, and if someone else posted this, I probably wouldn't believe it. I've been practicing magic for over 10 years, and I'm confident what I would like to do in this situation. I'm posting to share my experience and to see if anyone notices anything about the video or audio that I didn't notice, or has any other insights on the actual experience. Thank you.
Hello?